Hello everybody, and welcome to Catching Up with the Clemenses, brought to you by the Mark Twain House and Museum. My name is Jodi, and I care for the museum collections here.
And I'm Erin. I coordinate school programs here at the house. Today on Catching Up with the Clemenses, we'll tackle the question, who lived and worked in this house? Now, the short answer is the Clemens family and a whole bunch of people who worked for them. But you may be wondering, if the Clemens family lived here, why do we call it the Mark Twain House? So Sam Clemens was a famous writer in the 19th century, and like a lot of writers then, he sometimes published under different names that weren't his own, using what we call a pen name. Now, Clemens used a lot of different names, but Mark Twain was the one he ended up publishing under the most. It's the way people knew him back then, and it's the way people tend to know him now. So when they decided to make a museum of his home, Mark Twain was the name they decided to use.
Now that we understand the relationship between the Clemenses and the Mark Twain House, let's meet the members of the family. First up is Samuel Clemens. He was born in Missouri in 1835. Before he moved to Hartford, Connecticut, he worked as a riverboat pilot on the Mississippi River and a newspaper reporter all over the country and even all over the world. While on a trip through Europe and Asia for a newspaper, he made friends with Charles Langdon from Elmira, New York. This man told Sam all about his amazing sister Olivia. Even showed Sam a picture of her. Sam thought she seemed wonderful and wanted to meet her. Olivia, whose nickname was Libby, came from a very wealthy family, unlike Sam. He did get to meet her, and after they got married in 1870, they first lived in New York near her family. But Sam was becoming a well-known author, so they decided to move to Hartford, Connecticut, where there were a lot of people publishing books and newspapers. It was a great place to be a writer. We know through letters and building plans that Sam and Libby purchased the land and had this house built in 1873. They moved into it in 1874 and remained here until 1891.
But Sam and Libby weren't the only Clemenses who lived here. When the family moved in, their oldest daughter Suzy was 2, and their middle daughter Clara was just 3 months old. Their youngest daughter Jean was born 6 years later, when Clara was 6 and Suzy was 8. This is the nursery, where all 3 girls slept and played together when they were young.
Now, a famous and wealthy family like the Clemenses were expected to have paid staff to cook, clean, watch the children, and run the house. And with a house this big, and with all the visitors coming to see the famous Mark Twain, you need to hire a lot of people to keep things running. Today we're going to tell you a bit about a couple of the people the 3 daughters knew best.
George Griffin was the butler. If you were a visitor to the house, he was the member of staff you were most likely to interact with. He worked with Mrs. Clemens to manage the day-to-day operations of the household, including all the other staff who worked here. And when there was a special occasion, like a fancy dinner party, George was in charge of managing that as well. He actually lived in an apartment on the other side of the city, but since he was often expected to work here very late at night and then be back at work very early the next morning, he had a room here on the 3rd floor where he could sleep.
When the Clemenses lived in this house, there weren't any cars or subways, so they used a horse and carriage, or coach, to get around. Patrick McLear was the family's coachman. Not only did he drive the family where they wanted to go, but he also took care of the horses and other animals who lived in the carriage house. He did a lot of other things to make the house and grounds a good, safe place. Patrick lived in an apartment above the carriage house with his wife and 8 children. Who does this kind of work in your family? For instance, who makes sure there's fuel to cook with and keep the house warm or cool? And who takes care of the pets and other animals at your house?
Katie Leary was the lady's maid. This means she was basically Mrs. Clemens's right-hand woman. She was a very talented seamstress, someone who makes and repairs clothing, but she also looked after the girls and did a lot of other things for the family. This means that when they traveled, she usually went with them, unlike George or Patrick, who would stay here. She came to work for the family when she was a very young woman, and she actually lived right here in the house, in a special set of rooms set aside for young women who worked on staff. Here's how Katie remembered the house years later.
I must tell you a little about the Hartford house. It was really wonderful. I'd never been in anything like it before. The library was a beautiful room, and all the furniture was very elegant all through the house. There was a carved wooden mantelpiece in the library that Mrs. Clemens had bought from some place in Europe, from some old castle, I suppose, and there was a brass plate on it that had a motto, and that motto said that the best thing in a house was the friends that come into it And oh, there was another beautiful room downstairs called the Mahogany Room. And then at the top of the house was the famous billiard room where Mr. Clemens used to do all his writing. And I did the dusting. Almost everybody, all Mr. Clemens's friends that come here, admired the house very much. They all thought 'twas wonderful. And Mr. Howells used to say that there were never another house in the whole world like that one.
Along with George, Katie, and Patrick, the Clemenses also employed cooks, housemaids, nursemaids, governesses, and gardeners. Does your family pay other people to do some of these things for you? If not, who does the valuable jobs in your family, such as the laundry, cooking, shopping, or caring for children? At any given moment, the family would have employed between 7 and 11 people at a time. Between 1874 and 1891, the house and carriage house were home, work, or both to more than 30 different people. How does this compare to how many people live in your home?
Next time on Catching Up with the Clemenses, we'll answer the question, what's behind this screen? Between now and then, we challenge you to try to figure out where in the house it is. You can do that by visiting our virtual tour. The link is in the description box below the video. Do you have a question for us? You can send us an email at catchingup@marktwainhouse.org or send us a letter at the Mark Twain House and Museum, 351 Farmington Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut, 06105. Along with your question, tell us your first name, your age, and what city or town you live in. If we feature your question in a future video, we'll be sure to give you a shout out. Don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode.
We want to keep our educational materials accessible to all, but while these videos are free for you, they're not free for us. If you want to support the creation of Catching Up with the Clemenses videos and other educational programming here at the Mark Twain House Museum, please follow the link in the description below to donate now.